Welcome to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle. Joining me again, the great Gordon Tallis.
Hey, bro.
It's been the journos in Paul Crawley and Andrew Webster, and Trainergate continues. The controversy rolls on. Well, we already know what Gordy thought of it. What was your take?
Thought it was a disgrace. As soon as it happened, Andrew Voss has gone off his tree about it. He nailed it in the moment. It was disheartening. The Titans had put in a wonderful performance and you could just see it slip away in front of them. It's unacceptable if he didn't do it intentionally. It was stupidity of the highest order. Anyone that runs the water from under 8s up knows that you can't run in front of the kicker.
I agree. I don't know why we've got to put the word gate at the end of every scandal that happens in rugby league these days, but we seem to. I think the fact that it's happened with Penrith trainers so many times, 6 times since 2021. The other thing I can't really cop is the line that he didn't know, that he was lining up a goal. Well, why was he seeing why did he think the blokes are huddled at the in the in goal, just like having a mothers club meeting?
There's not a person on the field. Like Reedy's sitting here last night talking about all the confusion that was out there. There's not a person on the field, bar the goal kicker.
Well, the reason it revved up overnight was, a lot of it had to do with this. Bulldogs GM of footy, Phil Gould, has blasted the punishment handed down. Let's have a look at what he had to say. I think it's the greatest beat-up I've ever seen in rugby league. This is a perfect example that officialdom can be influenced by social media. If he's not putting water on the ball, he's not doing his job.
If he's not cheating, he's not doing his job, basically. That's a familiar Gus line. He likes to say that the NRL always reacts to what the media and social media are doing. I don't buy that at all in this instance. As you said, the commentators, I was watching it live too, thinking, what the hell is this guy doing?
Well, ex-players had a say.
Yeah.
And then the Titans wouldn't have liked
Michael
it. And
Ennis brought it up straight away in the commentary.
Michael Ennis and Andrew Voss and then Jaden Campbell's reaction is the best. So
it didn't cost them the game.
No, it didn't.
But it certainly
I never
didn't.
said it did.
No, I get that. But a lot of people making that argument, and it didn't cost them the game, but it certainly didn't help.
But it's a fair argument, though, because that makes it a 4-point lead. And then when Nathan gets the field goal, it doesn't matter. The Titans are still ahead.
But they did score a try to win. Well, maybe they don't go for that.
But that's in golden point.
Yeah.
Like the argument that it did cost them. Well, it's a legitimate argument.
I respect Gus so much, but sometimes his comments they spin me out. I just don't get it. Like Andrew Voss, he's been calling rugby league games now
since the 1980s, I think.
Forever. And his reaction to it at the time, he'd never seen it. And we all know what Vossi's like. He's a great caller, arguably the best in here. He was shocked. Yeah. Michael Ennis, he was right next to him. He was shocked. They couldn't believe what was happening. To blame it on social media in reaction to fans.
Yeah, and basically said along the lines that no one from rugby league had even cared about it at that time, when in actual fact, the moment it happened, there was instant outrage.
Well, I wonder if he would have cared about it if it was the Bulldogs missing out on a final spot because of it.
That's the hypocrisy of what he says, though.
And is it appropriate for a club official to be saying that the trainers should cheat, like put water on the ball?
He said far worse. He said far worse on that show. Look, that's Gus. I think Gus likes a bit of rage bait. He likes to dangle out controversial lines and we all react to it. And I think Gus gets off on that, to be honest. But I find it's interesting in the sense that Penrith, I've been a big supporter of Penrith. I don't like the suggestion.
Absolutely.
I don't like the suggestion that their players are arrogant. But there is certainly, they do things, they push the envelope like all the great teams do to get an advantage, and they've got form, and that's why when they say, it was purely accidental, that's why people go, I've got my suspicions whether that's the case.
You know what though? There was a period in Ivan's early years there where the Panthers did play with that arrogance, Webby. I don't think there's any doubt in the world. There was that line in the sand where they thought we're sick of getting bullied, we'll be the bullies.
Sure.
I think it's changed. In the last 2 years, I think there's been a clear change in their attitude, but there hasn't been a change amongst their trainers. Like you said, 6 incidents since 2021 that we know about.
Is the fine enough?
I think the punishment was actually. I think the punishment and the matches was fine.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go lighter, Gordy. If it went heavier against the trainer, if he was gone for the entire season forever, it wouldn't have bothered me one bit.
I didn't like when the trainers used to run on when I was playing, but I was lucky I had Craig Bellamy, I had Gary Belcher, then right at the end had Kevy Walters. I had some really good experience, but I hated the messages always come on. Now that I'm retired, I don't like seeing trainers on. My little son plays under sixes. They're on more than his coach. No, but like
I know, Alf's in the back
there's no
line.
fatigue,
That's hilarious.
mate. Like there's no fatigue. A minute they run up with the water bottle. So are we watching under eights or are we watching NRL? Can we just get the trainers off? Like.
NRL CEO Andrew Abdo has responded to Gould's comments, dismissing the claim that the punishment was driven by social media and fan backlash. Take a listen.
I think it's important to note that there have been 6 separate incidences involving Penrith Panthers trainers since 2021. So whilst we treat every incident on its own merits, taking into account the fact that there have been several indiscretions by trainers from that club, it was important for us to take the action that we've taken. There's a simple rule, and that rule has been broken. Whether it was by accident or not, it's a breach, and they obviously have an opportunity to respond. I can say categorically that this is not a reaction to the public or to social media. This is an application of the rules, something on which we discussed and debated quite vigorously real time over the weekend.
The NRL confirming Panthers trainers have had 6 indiscretions since 2021. So they've got some form, don't they?
I do. I think Andrew deserves to be congratulated. I think it's good, strong leadership.
Yeah, well, it's 6 we know about, Bray. Because we're about to get to the 7th that isn't even counted as the 7th.
Well, do you want to go through the 7th?
Yeah. Well, so this was reported by the Sydney Morning Herald today. So in the minutes after old mate's run across in front of Jaden Campbell and done that.
Old mate.
In the minutes after, or Corey Boffin.
He's the other old
This
mate.
is Shane Elford out on the field, the Panthers trainer. So the rule for the blue shirt, as the Herald reported today, the rule for the blue shirt is that they're allowed on any time there's a stoppage in play and 3 times during the game to deliver messages, or in a half to deliver messages. But they've got to be off by tackle 4. And he's stayed on for every tackle and stayed on for tackle 5 as Nathan's lined up for the field goal, and he's finally got to the sideline right at the end, and he hasn't stopped giving his messages the whole way. And so this is minutes after this. You know what this is? This is an up yours, a stuff you to the NRL rules. They couldn't care less what the rules are.
It's one of these to the NRL. That's what it is.
Yes, well, it is. We're be honest to God, mate.
What is it? Well said.
Because last night I got it wrong. I just wanted to clarify
aware.
that. Anyway, carry on.
No, I'm just saying, that's what it is. Like, it's an up yours to the NRL rules. And so the NRL's response to this is that it's up to the ground manager to enforce this. But if the ground manager misses it, bloody enforce it afterwards.
But why are they on the field? Why is he on the field?
He shouldn't have been at that moment, mate. But this is a game.
So let's just make the rules.
It shows
okay,
the arrogance of their trainers at the moment.
They're going to run on unless we change the rules and say you're not allowed on unless someone's injured.
Of course, don't you reckon that you can identify moments like that numerous times in a game?
You could.
Every game.
You probably could, but the fact that they're out of control,
Sure, they've
right,
done
it
it
probably
straight
does
after, I get
happen in other games. It probably does.
You can see
but
here,
it shouldn't.
Just
No,
you're right. And you can see here, Shane is trying to set them up for this field goal. Watch him point back to the 40-metre line here. You'll see it just now. He's trying to get him, position him down right there. So he's trying to get... Like, Nathan Cleary doesn't need Shane Elford to tell him. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. So it's unnecessary. I think they're just overplaying it too much. But it's not so much the Panthers' fault, I don't believe. I think it's more the NRL's. Like, you know, even their reaction today to it, you know, it's obviously happening in other games, so we've got to be careful of how critical we are of Penrith right here. But
most clubs would do it. All of them would do it.
Yeah, I know, but
let's just change the rules.
Yeah, but the trainer going in front of you don't see that every game.
No,
you know that's next level.
But what's the use of having Gordon?
They're just better at it. It's like when everybody was whinging about the wrestling. Melbourne were just better at it.
That's right.
Do you think we'll see a crackdown now because of this?
I hope so.
We'll have to.
It doesn't have to be a crackdown.
Well, just
mate.
enforce the rules.
Just follow the rules. Yeah.
Like, honestly, it should be. And I'm so glad that the NRL has gone as hard as they did on Bocking, because at least that's going to tell them if they keep it up, they'll cop it again.
Yeah, but I just said last night, and I'll say it again, if they win the grand final, the 50,000 is nothing.
No,
it's not, mate. Your point was valid.
Yeah.
You'd do anything to win a game at this time of the season
Yes,
if it's going to get
absolutely.
you potentially into a top
And if
four.
it wasn't the Titans, it'd be such a...
Just imagine if it
it'd be
was the
such a
Bulldogs.
bigger story. Like, if it was one of the top 4, top 8 teams, like, you know, people are saying, like Gus, we're over-exaggerating, we're dramatising it. we're actually just giving credit to the Titans because they were hard done by, and it's got to change. Because if it was one of those top 8 teams, the uproar would be even bigger, right? Or am I wrong with that?
And potentially with Des too, like Des's job's on the line at the moment, and he just has to cop it. And not only that, then they got the penalty try wrong.
Let's hear from the Titans. After a heartbreaking loss, Titans hooker Sam Verrills was still frustrated by the trainer gate incident.
Yeah, I don't know what side of trainer just runs in front of a person who's trying to kick the goal. I don't think I've ever seen that, to be honest. And we were up by 2 with, I think, 4 or 5 minutes to go. I don't know why a trainer would just run in front of him, to be honest. But he's come out and said he didn't mean it, but it looked pretty obvious. I don't know. I know for a fact our trainers wouldn't run in front of a goal kicker, 10 metres out. So,
see, if the players didn't care, right, and if it wasn't a big deal, the players aren't going to react like that days after
100%.
the result. We all know that, right?
Yeah, as you said, you can see from Jaden Campbell's reaction how much it hurt. You're right, and they might be near the bottom of the ladder, the Titans, but they've got Des is coaching for his future. Well, it doesn't look like he has got a future.
Trying to avoid a wooden spoon.
Well, exactly. He's got enough on his plate. Those players have gone through the ringer all year. It's unfair to a team in their position. Doesn't matter what position on the ladder you are.
All right, let's take a look at the ins and outs for round 23. Thanks to Sportsbet. And Payne Haas returns, Willison sidelined. Yo is out with a shoulder injury for the Panthers. Hopewadi out, Trebojevic back to fullback for the Manly Seagulls. Galvin named. Sexton and Woods are in the reserves, though. That's an interesting one. Latrell Mitchell named on the extended bench, but Payne Haas is a big return for the blockbuster against the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, especially Willison going down, broken arm. Yeah. So to have Payne Haas back, hopefully he's back and can fire into the finals. That's a huge inclusion.
Yeah, I think this is a massive game for the Broncos. Like their record overall against the Storm has been horrendous, but particularly in Melbourne where they haven't won, I think, since 2016. And so when you peel back on that, when Michael Maguire came to the club this year, he was supposed to introduce this steely edge about the Broncos, take them to the next level, put a toughness into them that Kevy couldn't supposedly do. Well, this is the match that the Broncos have to stand up and show it, because at this stage, I'd say we haven't seen any difference, apart from they're a little bit higher on the ladder to where they were last year, of what Madge's made them. But if they're going to be a true premiership contender, they have to go down there and get rid of the hoodoo.
100% agree. I think this is their most important game this year. 1 minute you think the Broncos can win the comp, and the next minute you think they're just going to struggle to make the 8. I haven't been convinced about them, pushing for the comp. But if they put on a good performance down there, Harry Grant's 100th against the Storm, it's also important for Melbourne, because I reckon they've been streaky as well.
Yeah, I reckon Melbourne, they've been that inconsistent. They want to put one of those performances where they, put a shot across everybody's bow.
Yeah, I was watching the game on the weekend, and I've been a big fan of Brisbane. I've talked them up, even when they've been struggling. And Madge Maguire, I've supported, and I've tipped them top 4 start of the year. That changed as the year went on, but they have been inconsistent. Even in the game against South, it took them 15 minutes to kind of, score a long-range try when they had plenty of ball, and then they were only leading by a try at half-time, and I'm thinking they should be doing a hell of a lot better than what they are. Yes, they opened South up. They were always going to, but because South were decimated. So it's a big game, and it's a big game for a number of reasons. They've got a terrible record against the Storm. They've only won once since 2017, and here it is. As you can see, there's a lot of L's. So the Broncos, like you guys just spoke about, it is an important game, but their record is diabolical.
Why is that?
I don't know.
You know what it is? Melbourne are just too tough for them.
Yeah.
Like Melbourne, you tell us, Gordy, Melbourne over the years have just been too tough for the Broncos. The Broncos play pretty, Melbourne play to win.
Both sides have a lot of skill. Melbourne have more will. It's as simple as that. Every time they go to the contest and they beat Brisbane to the contest, they've had some really good sides in that performance as well. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And
that's the overall record, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's everywhere. They've won once.
Are they flat track bullies, the Broncos, or can they beat the top sides?
Well, this is the moment. Up until now, they have been, and it was interesting that you spoke about that game the other night, because Souths are basically missing a football team. It's a New South Wales Cup team out there. And the moment that kind of got under my skin a little bit was when Ezra Mam and Reese are running away for that try, and they've got that little bit going on between them, and they're having a good old laugh, and poor old Joy Arrow's chasing in the background. And by the time he gets there, he jumps on Ezra Mann and he wants to kill him. There's a blow-up over it. There's a blow-up, but their cockiness borders on arrogance. Okay, do that against a second-grade Bunnies side. Now go and do it against the Storm.
I think that's the challenge. Like, I don't mind a bit of cockiness and arrogance and,
Look at him.
you know,
Oh,
like,
come on, man.
I know.
But that's when they're playing their best footy.
That's when they're playing their best footy.
So that's the line, isn't it?
But
Well, that's
They're
it.
allowed to
You tell
enjoy
me-
themselves.
yeah, I know. They're having a
And
great
express
time,
themselves.
aren't they?
Well, do you tell me any premiership team that isn't arrogant?
Well, do you think I took my
I'll
footy?
tell you what, the Storm weren't in their day. The Storm, I always
serious?
thought the Storm...
What?
No, I didn't think so. Look, there's arrogance amongst them,
I
but
think
they
Cameron
also...
Smith took his footy too serious. He never smiled.
Yeah, well, there was always... And even the Storm today,
No,
there's a degree
I like
of
when-
decency about the
I
Storm.
reckon I run on and I was always serious. It's time to relax. You know, sometimes it's good when you see guys
I
out
just
there
want to see
expressing
Melbourne
themselves.
the Storm.
Melbourne,
There's
Melbourne,
nothing like that.
Melbourne
the
always
point.
had a
Sweet.
chip on their shoulder, you know,
Yes.
because of the wrestling stuff and the cap stuff.
Yeah, that's
know.
true, yeah. And
I
Cameron won
I reckon
the game.
that win when they left South last week, that to me said more about South than it did about the Broncos. They just said that, and I think Bennett said it in the press conference, you know, they've just been hanging on for so long and it just finally gave in the second half.
Are Melbourne up for the challenge break? They've got their injuries.
I still think the jury's out with them, you know, as well, because, you know, although Parramatta are a team on the rise who played really well the other night, Melbourne were clunky, but had every right to be. We know Jerome Hughes, Wishart playing in the halves, but Melbourne probably identified they need to be better if they want to win the competition. But that's okay. They've got a few weeks to try and readjust without Jerome. But against Brisbane, who are coming into this game with confidence and a little bit of arrogance, you never know. Like
They're smiling.
They're smiling.
The Jerome thing is a big deal too, isn't it? Because, look, we all watched the game last week. Wishart, look, he's as brave as they come. He tries his guts out, but he is not at the level of Jerome Hughes. They've gone for him again this week. Peasant's on the bench, it's like.
It'll be time. I think Peasant will certainly get his start at number 7, but this has always been the Melbourne way, and they can't go away from what's worked for them when Cooper Cronk was 14, or, you know, we saw Nico Hines was 14, or Pappenhouse was
There's like
14.
a system, isn't there?
Mate, there's a system. Don't break it because it's not broken.
But I think the Melbourne's problem is less complicated. They just are very un-Melbourne-like. They just keep dropping the ball. You know, loose passes on their own line, knock-ons, you know, from kicks. They just don't seem to be...
Pappenhausen was just the example of it,
That's
isn't
right.
he? Like with his goal kicking, with his general play this season.
He's been on that a lot of
Hot
the
and
year,
cold.
perhaps is either brilliant or he's got some howlers in him. If you can reel that back in, they need that Melbourne, because that's not the way that they play. Now, back to Brisbane, Reece Walsh. He's showed us glimpses of brilliance and class, as he always does, but a little bit inconsistent. What do we expect from him on Thursday?
Oh, well, look, you're right, because a week earlier he was rocks and diamonds against Parramatta. He was brilliant then. As we've spoken about previously, since his return, he's transformed this team. But I said it last week and I'll say it again. I think Reece Walsh is at that time in his career. Is he 23 now? I think he is. That he's at that time where it's time to step up and go to the next level. As we've spoken about in the past, the great fullbacks, the Billy Slaters, the Tedescos, those sort of players reach that period where they go to the next level. He's got to be more than just a flash-in-the-pan player.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. I like that Michael Maguire has said that he doesn't mind if he makes mistakes. Like, he's not going to die wondering. But that said, though, you still need to be a little bit tempered in the way that you play footy.
Now, Nelson Asafa-Solomona is free to play this week, but hasn't been picked, hearing that he will play reserve grade. Are you shocked by
Deja
this?
vu, isn't it? Yeah. We heard this last year, that, you know, he was overweight, didn't quite get it. Like, we hear this about Nelson a fair bit, and then all of a sudden, I don't think they can win the comp without him, Melbourne.
I think you make a good point there, Gordy. That's
But
like,
he needs
is
to-
this the kick up the bum to try and get him where he needs to go? Like, you know, there's a bit of talk going around that Melbourne might be offering him. He might not come back into the team. Well, they don't win the comp without him. We saw him in the grand final last year without him.
You could see just how pissed Craig Bellamy was a couple of weeks ago when he got with that elbow. The coach wasn't happy at all.
I think it's a culmination of things. Yeah, that was kind of the last straw for Craig. He hasn't got quite what he's wanted out of Nelson now for a while, and then to almost cost them a game through one incident, it's like, mate, if you get your shot here, you've got to deliver. And it was unstorm-like, I think, too, which Craig just doesn't stand for that.
And he's got a bad poker face, bellyache.
You reckon?
How many kilometres?
They were missing the goals on the weekend.
But how many kilometres do you reckon How many Ks does he do in that
He's
box?
getting steps up.
Oh, mate.
We reported last night with Lachlan Galvin, had scans yesterday, has an injury to his ankle, but also his hand, thumb, not sure exactly what it is, but his hand. They've named him at 7, although, I mean, I'm hearing he won't play. There is a chance of him playing. What do you got? Should they play him or not?
Oh, it depends on how bad it is. Like I saw photos this afternoon of him, like it's strapped up pretty heavily. Read into that.
Have anybody
Most players
But I don't-
say that if there's most clubs say if there's a fracture, it's a 4 to 6 week injury. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to mend. But we were speaking about this out the back earlier, Braith, and you have played with a fractured hand, so you could talk us through it.
Some breaks you need to have surgery, and that's just 4 to 6 weeks because you have surgery, you get pins in, and you're out. And some you don't need the surgery, so then you've just got to wait for it to heal. It's going to hang around for a 4 to 6 week period. You can play with it. You get
Straight up?
Yeah, you can, but I probably wouldn't be rushing him back in if there's a fracture there. Like I'd be giving him a week or 2 off, and then because it's uncomfortable as a half, you've got to catch, pass, tackling on the edges. Not being able to grab like you usually can. So it does impact your game, and it does impact it more as a half. Like as a front row, back rower, you're not passing as much. You're making more shoulder front on tackles. You get away with it a bit
What
more.
about you, Webby? Have you written a column with a broken hand?
No, I have actually broken that hand before.
I won't ask you how.
You don't want to know.
But the
Have
next
you got
question...
something for us, or you?
No, I'm just.
You had a scoop.
No, I thought
Just checking his
I thought
playlist.
I thought I had one.
Instagram. Anyway, who do they pick? Sexton?
Well, so they've named Mitchell Wood and Toby Sexton on an extended bench. And that is the question, isn't it, Braith? Because do you really, are they kidding us here? Are they really going to gamble on an untried young guy, as impressive as Woods may be? Or do you go with the bloke who you know what you're going to get with Sexton? Surely
it's just
it's not
Sexton.
even
It
a
has to be
question.
Sexton, surely.
Yeah.
Surely.
Mate, he got him to the top of the table. You put him in for the next couple of weeks. Lockie has a couple of weeks off. That's common sense.
Mitch Woods is a superstar in the making. Like I've watched a lot of his games, and he's a first grader through and through. But there's no need to rush, especially right now when you've got Sexton sitting there. Obviously Galvin there when he's fit. His time will come. And there's no real advantage in throwing him in right now. I don't believe.
If they don't pick him, then they are well and truly off him.
Sexton.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I guess you go back, it just reminded me, and you'd know more about this one too, Jonathan Thurston coming into the Bulldogs squad, but did he have more behind him at that stage than Mitchell now back in 2004?
He was a freak in the lower, like I'm talking dominating the whole competition, setting up 4 or 5 tries a game, and was knocking on the door for a long time before that. He was exceptional, and we saw why in the end.
You did, but at that stage of his career, it was kind of like...
I was watching his games thinking, I better be playing some good footy else I'm gone. So he kept us on our
The best
on our
motivation
toes.
is watching a reserve grade video.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
And then you just left anyway.
He left.
And then you did.
I got kicked. I got
you
booted.
did too.
Hey, don't
Yeah,
go
he
there.
left.
They re-signed Sonny Bill and they re-signed Willie, and they both left a year later.
Sorry, I didn't mean to pick the scab.
It's all right now.
Oh, hey.
I'm not picking your
Talking
scab.
about scabs, Gordy. Tom Trbojevic returns to fullback for Manly. Now, we've debated this for quite a while now, and I think you guys said last week, that he should be moved back there, and here it is.
Scared me a bit, Tom, the week earlier, just as the conversation started that he should go back to fullback, and then he went down and he started holding that knee again. But look, he was moved back there on the weekend for good reason, and I think if Manly are to be any hope of playing finals this year, Tom Trbojevic is in the one jersey.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's one of the best fullbacks in the game. Why wouldn't you play him there? He's You're right though. I'm still a little bit concerned about his body. I know he hates it being raised, but I'm more worried about just how Manly are going to show up. There's so much talk about the playing group and their relationship with Anthony Seibold and the rest of the club.
Is that still bubbling?
It is still definitely bubbling
Can
around.
they fix it in time?
But, well, the thing is,
It's real though,
no,
Gordon.
It is.
Like there is a genuine feeling at the club. I don't think that it's that they're off Siebes. It's that his coaching style
Just
doesn't really
suit a lot of
cut
those
it with a
players.
few of them. Like it's just not their go.
To be honest, the same thing was there last year.
Yeah.
And then they went, I was as stunned as anyone when they went to the second week of the finals, knowing that there'd been, you're right, disharmony isn't the word. It just doesn't seem to be fitting.
It's to do with his coaching style, but then that becomes a pretty damn big issue, doesn't it? Like if there is known to be, and it's a reality that there's senior players within that group, prominent senior players within that group, that aren't exactly enjoying that style of coaching, surely that becomes a problem for Manly management.
And is that a reason why there's a delay on the Trbojevic deal, both of them, Jake and Tom?
My understanding with the Trbojevics is that it's kind of like Jake is at that time in his life where he's thinking, do I want to go beyond the end of next year? I don't think there's any question he wants to stay at Manly. And then I think with Tom, it's probably a similar situation at the moment, but there has to be this underlying feeling, who's going to be the coach?
Yeah, 100%.
Do we know anything about that?
No, they're a hard read, Manly, in terms of where. But Tony Mesterov's a big supporter of Anthony Seibold. He's on the record about it, and they've had so much upheaval this year.
But you got to be on the board of the team. You got to be on the board of the badge.
Yeah. There is. That's right.
That's the decision.
I get it, but I've said on this program before. There's certainly, and it's no secret, the old clique of Manly former players who certainly want some change there, both in the front office and in the coaching department. And that pressure is still there.
So the names that get mentioned from the Manly old boys is Matt Ballin, isn't it? And then there's a bit of mail going around about Willie Peters at the moment. There's a lot of talk about how good a job that he's done over at Hull, and his name gets linked to Manly.
Which is hilarious given the way that he left the club.
Yes, well, that's another story. And then the other guy, again, that started out at Manly was Arthur. But it would depend on which direction they've got to go. But by the sounds of things, so you wouldn't think Siebes is that safe. But is it the right decision? Because the other thing that's getting mentioned is maybe he lasts another year and they bring someone in. Like, if the players aren't really seeing eye to eye with him, do you leave it another year? Do you go through it for another 12 months?
You'd have to move on.
You believe that they have to retain Jake?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, forget about all the super coach.
I do as well.
All the super coach stats out there.
Talk me through
because
this.
it just the ethos that he brings to the club.
Look
at Origin last year. Everyone was bagging the decision from Michael Maguire to make him captain and even pick him, and he was like the backbone of that team. And it doesn't always just come. Look at him there kicking those. That's what you want from. That's what you want from your captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, look,
someone who cares. So it shouldn't be. It should be the standard. But that's what you want.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's bigger than what they do. I think it's from Monday to and Braith, and you play with those guys, and because I come through the grades where there was reserve grade, and there was guys that hung around. They just taught you so much. It was just so good when they played, and they were on the other. Just on the other side of the hill, but they're still important to the organisation. He's one of them.
Everyone loves Jake, and I think what you mean there as well is trust.
Absolutely,
you trust him. He provides. You trust him, and
absolutely.
And you trust as long as he's in the team, everyone's going to be inspired by him and doing the right thing by the team. It's a team first mentality. Now, DCE, we're hearing that when he goes to the Roosters. What are you laughing at?
What is he going to announce it?
When he goes to Roosters.
He's been playing there all year.
When the season's over for both of them, that's when they'll announce it.
Yeah, he's going to be 5'8", and Sam Walker's going to be 7. We've also wondered if this was going to be the case, who would be the general, the 7, and Buzz, I think, is the one that reported this. But
Buzz has reported that Sam will be wearing the 7 next year and he will be the halfback of the team. I guess the question I have, though, is that Sam's playing left side, which is traditionally where the 5'8" plays. Cherry Evans has spent his career playing on the right. They've got young Hugo Savala, who is not so young, really, when you look at his real age. He's 23, right? So it's not like he's some young rookie who's prepared to wait another year to get his shot so they can bring in a 37-year-old. And if he was to do that, in 12 months' time, there's a young bloke called Toby Rodwell, who they have massive raps on, who is a halfback, not a 5'8", which makes me wonder, is Sam's long-term position for the Roosters as a 5'8", not a halfback? You tell me, is that...
We spoke, I think Sam's got a lot of development before he entirely runs a team, with that composure and game management. He's so good, off the cuff and try assist, he's up there amongst the best of them, and he can do things that others can't. But the question mark is that control, you know, and that's why I thought they'll bring in DC in, but then they're putting DC at 6, so, you know, how's he going to control it from 6 and control the game plan?
They could give him jump at 42.
It doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't think it's a big deal. Like, I think that they'll share roles and one will complement the others. I see them as different, although a lot see them as the same player. I don't. I see them as different. I think for a year, it'll be a good combination. I actually don't mind it. A lot of people are quite pessimistic about it.
If you were Hugo, would you wait another year, waiting in the wings, knowing that Rodwell's in the background?
If it's only 1 year...
but it's not, because Rodwell is then 12 months older.
But he's got the jump on him at the moment because he's showed that he can handle first grade and he's done it really well. So he has first dibs. You know, Rodwell's still got to prove himself. It doesn't matter how good you are, Australian schoolboy. You know, we've seen it before. I think he's got it, Rodwell. But, you know, it's an interesting one. Sandon Smith will move on.
His stocks are higher now than if he gets dropped and a young kid goes past him.
And he'll have no problem going anywhere else too. So he could see the year out and have options, you know, Savala.
Well, he's free to talk to rival clubs come November this year, so it'll be interesting to see if he holds on and goes to market.
I just wonder what's happened, because when this first got floated about Cherry Evans to the Roosters at the start of the year, I remember having this discussion with Roosters types earlier in the year.
Names?
No, I can't. And the line out of the club was Cherry Evans would play 7 and Walker would move to 6. And I know, as you said, it's just a number in a lot of ways, but that's what I got told from some pretty heavy hitters at the Chalks. So I was surprised when Buzz wrote it that it would be the other way around.
You got to keep everyone happy, Webby, you know?
I've
Could
noticed.
be a case of that.
Do you reckon they'd make the same decision now?
Yeah,
Knowing what they know.
Yes. Yeah, I think once Nick said he's coming, there's no way.
I do too.
He was never going to back out of it.
I don't think they can. I don't think they believe they can win a comp next year with the team they got. They think that DCE. My opinion. I think they think with DCE they're more chance of winning a premiership next year.
I reckon.
Just
It's
that
a
one
funny
year.
thing, though, because we look at the competition this year and we've spoken about the Storm being a bit streaky, the Broncos being a bit streaky, the Raiders in the last month probably not as impressive as they were previously, Canterbury. Who's to say the Roosters can't make a charge this year?
It's a fair point that you make. Stick around. Plenty more to come. And tomorrow night, following NRL 360, the journey behind Canberra Raiders flyer Xavier Savage. A moving story coming to your screens this Indigenous round.
Northern end of the ground. Rinakama brings it back. And a solid tackle on him. Weather has been a big part of it as they put it down through Bolle here. Comes through Salmon. And then Galvin or Skelton trying to do what Skelton does.
Welcome back. Those were our crunch time hits of the round. Thanks to Red Rooster and Crawls. You believe on the weekend James Tedesco should have got 10 minutes.
I'll tell you what, it's no wonder that there's some clubs and coaches out there that think there are rules for some and rules for others.
Oh,
because
controversial.
That, honest to God, when that happened, I was thinking, is it a send-off?
Really?
Or is it... I thought it was definitely a sin bin. I didn't think there was a question in the world. Mate, that's as reckless as it gets.
Accident.
Of course it's an accident. We spoke about Jack Whiten's tackle last week and how there's a duty of care.
Very different.
But there's no... Where's his duty of care?
The onus when you're making a tackle on a player is very different than when you're looking at the football and you're trying to come
Oh, so you just go and jump and knee someone in the head.
You try and... that's extreme.
Mate, I couldn't believe he didn't get a charge. Like, he got a fine out of it.
To me, that reminds me when Tony Carroll tried to jump Dalla Harris, the referee. And he couldn't,
He should have been suspended for that, shouldn't he?
So you don't need duty of care there. It's all good.
No,
Mate, I thought it was terrible. I thought it was bloody terrible. And if that was John Hopewadi running down the field, how many weeks does he get?
Crawls, I'm actually...
No, seriously, mate. Teddy's a clean skin and that's why he gets off.
I don't disagree with you much, Crawls, but I totally disagree on this. He's looking at the ball. By the time he can react, and Hopewadi's dropping too, it's a total coincidence that his head is where his knee is in the end. He couldn't change that.
It's the same as the Crichton one. I thought Stephen Crichton, dead set, same deal.
Could have got sent to the bin.
Should have got sent to the bin.
I agree. That could have definitely.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
You're allowed to.
Am I allowed to say
on.
something?
You're very quiet over there.
I'm trying to say something.
Again.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Thanks.
Not sort of.
Well, tell us why.
Sort of.
Tell us why.
I agree. Like, the NRL, they're going to sit there and talk about, protecting the head no matter what. And I understand it's like one of those incidental contacts that happen in the game.
Yeah.
But in the current climate, it is more than $1,000
So
fine.
what has James Tedesco done wrong here?
He's hit him. No, you need him in the head's the main thing.
But
That's probably that's the main problem. I dare say.
how could he have avoided this? How could he have avoided this?
Not need him in the head.
Right.
I get it.
You should work on the.
I'm a crown prosecutor.
You'd be a shocker. Any contact, you're off. See you later.
You don't
Suspended.
reckon
Well,
the
you can't-
Roosters would have blown up? It was Tedesco on the side of that, and he ended up getting wiped out of a game or two. You don't reckon?
It's completely accidental. It's completely accidental. But
Look, if you're splitting hairs, he's not going to get to the ball, does he pull out? Maybe.
How does he pull that? He's in the air.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
His
well, like
lands.
they're looking at the flight of the ball. Was he going up to try to balk in?
Yeah.
We
You
may
could
all
have a
agree with this
slight
one.
point.
I don't know. The Warriors are furious with the sanction handed down to Felice Kafusi. 2 weeks for this, and it's a broken leg. Let's have a look at this one. Is this penalty not enough? 2 weeks for this.
with third man in. Oh,
No, hold on. Third man in is okay.
not when you break his leg.
Well, it's
Come
his
on.
body that's dropped on the
The
ankle.
That's
body
the
weight.
problem.
When I
Yeah,
saw
but
That's what I
this,
mean. That's what they talk
listen,
about.
listen,
They
okay.
talk about hip drops, and they talk
That's
about.
not a hip drop.
I know, but it's in the
There's
the
a
same.
Ronnie Coop.
It's in the same suburb.
what's a
It's
Ronnie
Ronnie
Coop?
That there is a
That's
great tackle. That's a Steve Mortimer.
is PG.
Cover
Jeez.
defence. Chest, what's this, right? That there is how you teach your kids. Shoulder.
Really?
Wrap your legs.
Are you serious?
Mate, lower around the legs. What? So
What? Look at his
so
whole
now-
body weight on his ankle. Watch this. Bang. Oh,
That's a hip drop.
it's like in the middle of
His
his.
hip didn't touch him, did it?
It broke his
It
leg.
did. It did.
It broke his leg.
If they could show that again.
Shane Webster hit me and nearly broke my leg one day, and it wasn't his head.
Watch his body. Like it lands
Twist.
full weight in the middle, on the top of his ankle, and breaks his leg.
Watch
Watch
there,
this.
Gordy, watch. Bang.
There. Like,
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Did
I
his
know
hip-
there's not much in it, but the damage that it's done is the
Don't go on.
reason
Yeah,
that
watch
they're
this
trying to
angle.
get his
Don't go
tackle
on
out.
dancing with the
There you go. That's a hip
No,
drop.
no.
That's a hip drop.
That's his hip hitting the ground.
It's
The
him
other
hitting his bloody
angle,
ankle and breaking it.
the other angle, his hip hits
You should
the
have been
grass.
with me on the Teddy one, and I would have stuck with you here. But no way.
this,
Mate.
look at that. Look at that.
His
Gordy.
hip hits the ground.
So the big question is whether the ARL Commission should have used their new powers to step in and upgraded the charge or the penalty. But I don't think they should, because if you do that, that opens up a.
We
can
can't
of
go
worms.
down the road where if someone gets injured, they get a bigger ban.
But
because
the reason he got injured was because of that. He put all of his weight on his ankle.
But we do go
Let's
down
agree.
that road,
Let's-
Gordon. We do go down that road. We went down that road with Whiten last week. We went down it with Tedesco tonight because Hopewade doesn't get injured is the reason.
Well, we
Teddy-
haven't agreed on much tonight, so
No.
you guys stick around. Up next, it's the player's perspective with Storm star Harry Grant.
Last tackle, Melbourne. Can they find Xavier Coates? Peasant, Webster, he's going to go looking for him. Here he comes. Here he goes. He's done it again. Xavier Coates.
It's what Cameron Munster has been able to do, the pinpoint kicks, and Xavier Coates flying over the top of Zach Lomax.
He's too good. It's almost not fair.
Welcome back. That was our dynamic duo. Thanks to Vodafone. Double the coverage. Let's cross live now to Storm captain Harry Grant. Harry, we just saw how important Cameron was last week. How much confidence did you get from having him back in the team?
G'day guys, it was good to have Money back out there last week and, back to playing footy and doing what he loves. At the end of the day, he brings so much joy to our team and so much purpose of just playing footy for the fun of it. And it was good to see him doing that back last week and hopefully he can do that for the rest of the season.
Harry, Andrew Webster, congratulations on the 100 games, mate. Can I ask you this? Yourself and a few Queensland players were criticised pretty heavily after Origin 1. Ever since that moment, you seem like you've taken your game to the next level. Would you agree with that assessment? Do you think has that really been the impetus for you for the rest of this year?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I think going into Origin, I had probably a few games where I was injured with a hamstring, and then probably didn't have the best runs on the board. And I think everyone in the game that you're your own harshest critic, and I was very harsh on myself with the Cronulla game, and then Origin won. So I probably knew internally that I needed to really knuckle down on a fair few things in my game, and I wanted to do that, and I want to put in every week for my team, and I knew I had to do that, and I think, once you get that cohesion and consistency in your game, then you can keep that base, and then some good things come off the back of it too.
Hey, Harry, it's Gordon Tallis here, mate. Congratulations on 100 games. Why do the Melbourne Storm have such a great record against the Broncos, no matter where they play them?
G'day, Gordy. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I guess a lot of people call it a rivalry or a big game, and that's been around for a long time. Long before I started, being a Melbourne Storm player or Melbourne Storm person, and I guess those games back in the day were always ones to really look forward to, and you think of some big games, some grand finals. I'm sure, that everyone wanted to be a part, and maybe Cam Smith, Billy Slater, those guys, they paved the way with that. But, it's always a contest every week. The NRL games are a contest, but I guess, I'm not really sure if we've got the wood we have in recent times, but I know Thursday will be a big challenge.
Got the wood, definitely. For a long time. Does Craig approach these, your coach Craig Bellamy, does he approach these games any different? Do you see a change in him when you're taking on the Broncos? Because it is significant. Like, I know it's hard to talk it up because you're playing them this week. It's difficult, but it is remarkable how much success you've had. Is there any change in the coach, or it's all the same?
I think Craig probably doesn't waver too much on what he sees as important, and the messaging he tries to get across to the group, and the work, the time he puts into an opposition. I don't think it changes too much week to week, and that's probably why he's had sustained success and consistency throughout a season. I think everyone's aware of ladder positions and the challenge that's ahead of us as a Storm team. I think Broncos come off a massive win last week, and you look at their team as strike all over the park. So I think as players, we're aware of it. The whole squad's aware of it. But week to week, I think Craig's he's leaving no stone unturned each week, no matter who the opposition is.
Harry, Paul Crawley here, mate. What about Craig's message to you guys at the moment? Like, you're the competition favourites, but how would you rate your season so far? Do you think you've been a little bit streaky, sort of your form up and down? And where do you need to improve counting down the final weeks of the regular season?
G'day, mate. Yeah, it's been a bit of that. I think, coming into this season, there was probably a lot of expectation and external noise, coming into the Storm team and what everyone expected. And, it's a long season. Things happen, injuries happen or form or whatever it is. But, I think we went through a period where we really knuckled down and found some wins and found some, confidence within the whole squad, because the depth of the squad was tested. We had a lot of players in Origin duties, and that was good for the team. But I definitely think we need to iron out some creases with and without the ball, and we've got a perfect opportunity to do that over the next 5 weeks, and we've got a really tough road home, and then a tough 5 weeks, but I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Talking about your attack with no Jerome Hughes, does that put a bit more pressure on you, Harry, around the ruck? Are you going to, take the reins, take a little bit more of them?
No, Jerome's obviously, different, but I think, with Wishy stepping in there, it's just not having him to try and play like Jerome, but just bring his strengths, bring his game, and myself, Paps, Munster, we can definitely try and help out where we can with Wish, but that's what the the spine is in the team to do is to control the game and make those decisions and make them at the right time. So I think we're all in the boat together. And in saying that, the 17 guys that play each week, everyone's going to take a little bit of responsibility too.
Harry, how is Jerome tracking? There's a lot of speculation about how long he's going to be out. When do you guys expect him to return from the injury?
He's tracking well. He's upbeat and in and around training. He's been really positive, energetic, and I think that energy gets you good places. Fingers crossed he should be back before finals or going into round one of the finals. I think that's the mail that we've got, but I think it's sort of more so the now and really sort of diving into what we have now and making those combinations with Wishy and really bringing his game to life. And then, if we get Jerome, then we get Jerome as well.
Harry, I've done some research this afternoon, spoke to some Melbourne Storm sources. They tell me, 1, you've got a flourishing veggie patch, and 2, you're pretty good on a mechanical bull. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you've done your research. Do you want to hear the story about the veggie patch or not?
Yes, please.
Who's got the goal kicking duties this week?
A few years ago, actually.
Hang on, go on. Sorry, mate, I cut you off.
A few years ago, I built a little veggie patch and had a few veggies growing. And Cooper Johns, every time he'd come home from a beer, he'd actually urinate. He'd urinate in the veggie patch, and he didn't tell me for a couple of months. And I was cooking up some homemade veggies and picking the lettuce out of the garden, and it took him a bit of time to tell me that one.
Oh no, those veggies wouldn't have tasted too good. What about the goal kicking this week? Poor Paps, he had a bit of a Barry Crocker last week. Who's going to be goal kicking this week?
I think Munster's put his hand up.
Oh, please.
But I don't know if Craig will give it to him. But potentially Means or Paps. I think. Yeah.
Beautiful.
See which way Belzer wants to go, I guess.
Thank you, Harry. Really appreciate your time. You are flying at the moment, playing some great footy, and good luck into the run into the finals.
Good on you guys. Thank you.
What a champion he is, Harry Grant. And he's playing better.
Didn't give much.
Well, I mean...
I don't know why we got the wood over him. We've only beaten him for the last 20 years.
Well, what's he going to say? You're playing him in a couple of nights' time and you're going to we're easy beats. We smash him every time we play him.
Webby, your question is a great question
the
too.
The veggie
no, not the veggie one. The one about the fact that he has turned his season around since Origin 1.
You can tell.
Incredibly.
All right, we're going to go. Thank you, Journos. Outstanding yet again. All right, next Wednesday, August 20, Nikita Zoo returns, and the only place you can watch it is live on Main Event.
Hear my sacred vow.
Welcome back tonight. Following NRL 360, it's Face to Face with Greg Inglis Part 2. Part 1, Gordy, was great.
Yeah, unbelievable, Greg. And spoke to him through the week about his Goanna Academy. But yeah, Part 2 should be amazing. What a player.
What a player he was.
Absolutely.
He was tough to play against, I can tell you that. Now, that's it for NRL 360 for tonight. Now it's time for Face to Face.